Hello friends, today we are going to learn about the topic Google API. In this we are going to learn about how this Google API work, what it is and why it is so useful. Google API. What Google API is? Google API is a set of developers tool, or I could say it is a great set of developers tool. These tools make programmers able to perform operations using Google API and living within their development framework. Google API provides a way to use its features easily. Here you can use its map API, that means maps API, for example, those application programming interfaces used for maps, then Google Feeds API, then Google Search API, Google Friends Connect, which is very useful tool for any of the site to build. If particular site is using, say for example, it has to use some maps, then it can use this maps API. That means now it need not to create those maps or directions from scratch, rather it can just use the API from the Google and merge it into its application and use it. Similar way, Google Feeds API, Google Search API, etc. Then Google APIs take a sizable chunk of land in the API universe. That means there are a lot of APIs present in the APIs world from Google, so that the person could easily access it or consume it for various purposes. APIs are an invaluable tool for developers as they let you sites and web apps stand on the shoulders of the giants. That means you need not to do or work on it from the scratch. Instead, you can just mount it on the already working giants and you can customize it as per the deal. That means whatever you want in your application, you can customize it and you can just take the API or the required thing from the particular platform and you can implement or integrate it into the application which you are creating. They enable you to focus on unique application logic instead of having to hack together plumbing from scratch. What is Google Toolbar API? The Google Toolbar is widely used and comes standard with Firefox. Now there are different kind of web browsers, say for example Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, etc. So here this toolbar, it is widely used and with Firefox it is standard. That means we can get it. The Toolbar API allows developers to create buttons for Google Toolbar, thus creating a way for you to add data from your website to the user's web browser. For example, the Fox News latest headlines button will display all of the latest news from the Fox News site and let you click to the story. That means the stories which is there in the Fox News website, it could come into your news feed with the use of this particular search API or newsfeed API of Google. In addition to the more than 100 applications featured in the Google Toolbar gallery, from mainstream names like CNN, YouTube, dozens of independently developed applications and mashups have also been created. That means now, for example, if we open Chrome, then we see a lot of things like calendar, YouTube, Gmail, and a lot of things which is there. Similar way, there are several of the applications which is there incorporated in the Google Toolbar which we can access, and it is created there or set there with the help of this Google Toolbar APIs. For example, the Twitter Google Toolbar button allows you to input Twitter feeds and receive updates in your own toolbar. Then Google Gadgets API Perhaps the most important of the Google APIs for those looking to take advantage of Google's massive user base, the Google Gadgets API allows developers to create applications that run on iGoogle, formerly Google Personalized Home, Google Desktop, Google Page Creator, and the Google Gadgets for the web page directory. For example, the CNN TV Gadgets streams live news, while Outlook tasks import your task list from Microsoft Outlook. These are all the gadgets which is there, or the services which is being provided with the use of this Google Gadgets API. Then, assuming you are able to get your application into Google's official directory, the Gadgets API is a great way to gain exposure for your company's product. See, here is one example of this gadgets. We have this weather, that means we can get the weather code or weather update, weather forecast for the area where we want. So what we have to enter here, we just have to enter the code, postal code, pin code, zip code, whatever is considered here, and then you just have to search. Then another gadget is Google Calendar. Then comes this, what are the tasks we are going to perform on this day, then what is the date and time, and then this YouTube. So these are all the Google gadgets which we are going to perform or we are going to use in our day-to-day life, which is being provided by this Google Gadget API. Then comes Google Base API, Application Programming Interface. Google Base is Google's service for listing things online. Essentially, a classified service integrated with companies' other products like search and Google checkout. The Google Base API allows developers to both search the Google Base database and input new listings. Thus, shopping sites, classified aggregators, and others are building applications that either expand their own listings or allow sellers to submit items to multiple sites at once. Flyer is a service that enables you to post Google Base, Craigslist, and eBay among others. This means these are the example that the service is being served and what is the thing that Google Base API is and how it helps and why it is used by the programmers. These examples gives insight into that thing. Then for real estate listings, Base Estate integrates Google Base listings into their services, which displays properties on a mashup of the Google Maps API. See, this is the example for Google Base API. So how it is being integrated. Now, if I want to see some of the property, how can I see it on my digital device? So it is with the help of this Google Maps API, it is integrated with this Google Base API, and then it gives me the complete output, which is the desired output by the client as well as, that means by the end user who is searching for the properties, as well as the provider who wants to provide or who wants to connect with its clients. So it is like that. Then comes Google Calendar API. The Google Calendar API allows developers to build applications that let users create, manage, and delete events from their calendars. Online Task Manager, remember, the Milk has utilized the Google Calendar API to enable their users to sync their task list with their Google Calendar. See, we are taking the examples where these APIs are being used or we come into contact with these APIs day by day. For business users, there is a mashup on salesforce.com that allows you to merge your events from salesforce.com with your Google Calendar. If you want to sync your Google Calendar with your mobile phone, open source project GCalSync allows you to do so. with dozens of startups focusing on finding and managing events, expects more mashups with Google Calendar in the future. That means those which are existing there are being in used and overused, but in near future the startups or the upcoming companies, upcoming ventures also eyes on Google API or Google Calendar API, so that it can be more accurate, more compatible, and syncing factor will be there, so that it will provide more ease to the clients and the people who are using it, the end users. This is the example for Google Calendar API. Then coming to Google Desktop SDK. The Google Desktop SDK, that is software development kit, allows developers to build plugins that extend the functionality of Google's popular desktop search software. Some plugins add capabilities to Google Desktop, while others are essentially widgets for other programs that you can place in your desktop sidebar. That means whichever things you want to access it again or frequently, then you can add it into the sidebar of your Google platform or desktop. An excellent example of an application that adds compatibility in the Google Desktop Search plugin for Windows Explorer, which links the search icon that can be found throughout Windows to Google Desktop instead of the default Windows search tool. On the widget side of things, any Google gadget can be quickly and easily added to the desktop sidebar, thus making gadgets an attractive methods for developer to reach new users. So, this is the example for this Google Desktop SDK. Google Maps API. One of the most popular and longest running Google APIs is that of Google Maps. The API allows developers to build applications that plot their own data on top of Google Map. That means how we can search the restaurants or how we can search the petrol pumps, hotels, everything on Google Maps. It is because of this particular feature. We recently took a look at 13 must-see Google Maps mashup, but there are hundreds, if not thousands of applications using the API, ranging from Frapper's social maps to Trulia's real estate search. These are the data based on the US researches. In addition to the API, Google also recently introduced Maplets, essentially allowing developers to place Google gadgets on maps. See, this is the example for Google Maps API. AdWords API. The Google AdWords API allows developers to design new programs for managing and analyzing AdWords campaign. This has led to a variety of software packages, many of which of course advertised on Google, that built upon AdWords. For example, the Visual Calc AdWords dashboard turns data from AdWords into charts and graphs for analyzing while campaigns are performing best, how clicks and conversions are trending over time, and how various metrics compare in different ad groups. Unlike most of Google's other APIs, developers pay a fee to build applications for AdWords, which is why most of the applications built to date, such as Visual Calcs, cost money. See, this is the example for AdWords API. Then comes Google Docs and Spreadsheets API. We all are using Google Docs and Spreadsheets these days. So how it is came or how it came into the existent and how it is that user friendly, it is because of this API. So as announced earlier, The Google Document List Data API allows developers to build applications that can upload documents to Google Docs, request a list of users' document, or search content within a document. The Google Spreadsheet API performs similar functions, allowing external applications to access and edit data within the company's spreadsheet program. A Google example of these relatively new APIs in action is Swivel, where data can be pulled in from Google spreadsheets and then utilize Swivel's community tools for analyzing and discussing data. Then comes Cloud Machine Learning API. Speaking non-technically, machine learning is a process taking input fields and then mapping them to a number of outputs. A classic application is turbine data, which is used to determine failure probabilities. While machine learning algorithms can be posted on any computer able to run Python, and the amount of resources you need rises significantly the larger the involved data sets get. That means as your data sets get larger or the size of the data sets increases, the amount of resources that will be needed by the consumer or the enterprises will be increasing. Thus, it goes to the cloud API for its machine learning thing. As can be inferred from the other Google APIs highlighted in this feature, Google has experienced handling all kinds of machine learning related jobs. That means Google provides all kinds of this machine learning related jobs so that the consumer gets benefited by this, and it does not have to work on this machine learning part separately and from the scratch. Instead, only the customized, the common basic feature will be provided by Google, and the customized or relatable only to that particular requirement will be created by the user, and that will be stored in the cloud with the help of this API, so that whenever it need it can take it, and this jobs, all these machine learning related jobs will be handled by the cloud. As a result, floating the job to Big G's server is a convenient way to solve the problem. Here Big G is referred to as Google. In addition to removing the CPU, that means central processing unit burden, from the machines, offloading the machine learning payloads also improves the learning speed. Due to the large amount of iterations it can run, the company has been able to greatly accelerate the normally tedious machine learning process. See, with the help of this Google's machine learning API program, here machine learning process has been made relatively easy for the companies or the enterprises who work for it, and then the process works with more efficiency and more speed, and the performance is increased. Cloud Natural Language API. When analyzing customer service cost, the friendly customer service person sitting in front of a workstation tends to be the most significant, meaning it's in the interest to maximize their time. If programs could analyze texts, bots could shave off precious seconds from every interaction between unhappy customers and expensive support employees. Google's Cloud Natural Language API is dedicated to doing exactly that. Plug in a query in the user's own words into the product, and it returns a field of information related to all kinds of related metadata it has found. In the AutoML edition, you are furthermore allowed to create custom models that are more tailored than the API's standard predefined categories, enabling you to focus on more niche expertise or areas of knowledge. Google Cloud Vision API. Whether you are looking at bringing in image screening or want to offer users functionality based on their images, being able to understand user generated and user uploaded images can be invaluable. Sadly, creating neural networks by hand is an incredibly tedious job that takes lots of time and an insane amount of training images. Google's Cloud Vision API lets your programs tap into Big G's machine learning system, upload an image or two, and feast your eyes on the vast amounts of image data the company has at its disposal. Not only can the Cloud Vision API determine if an image contains explicit or infringing content, it can easily identify the content of images and even highlight specific features. Useful if you need to pick out facial features in a busy image. Our special mode returns cropping advice. This is helpful if uploaded images are to be cut down to a specific format required by the user interface. Then Google Cloud Video Intelligence API. Google is always looking for new ways to generate extra revenue, and interesting avenue involves letting the Vision API loose on videos. This is the reason D3 for the Cloud Video Intelligence API. That means this is the strong reason why it is being used. Provide it with video data and prepare yourself for a torrent of metadata, cropping advice, and various other bits of auto-generated information. Cloud Speech to Text and Text to Speech APIs. While text might be king in many applications, there are plenty of situations where you may want to include voice output or input. Whether that's catering to those with accessibility issues or enabling people to use the sites and application hands-free. As the development of vocoders is cost expensive, offloading this task sounds attractive. Google has you covered with two sets of APIs. First, the Cloud Speech to Text API takes speech and turns it into the string text, while Cloud Text to Speech API takes the text and generates a spoken WAV file. From a technical point of view, these Google APIs tend to work and see use in a variety of systems like Android. However, it is worth keeping in mind that companies such as Nuance offer speech detection engines that significantly surpass the accuracy of Google's in some cases. Cloud Translation API. Multi-language applications are here to stay. A neat way to distinguish the product involves handling translation inline. If you grab, viewer automatically translates English into Russian and German. Not only will people living in the later two countries jump for joy, but you will expand your potential market. That means whenever the thing is being translated into the native language of the user, the market needs to jump. It has to jump because more user will connect to that thing, and then it will provide a better experience also to the users for their loyalty towards your software or towards your services. Sadly, getting machine translation right remains among the most complex problems in IT, that means information technology. Google's Cloud Translation API should be well known to all those of you who use its Translate app. In its simplest form, you send a string and get translated one in response. Most of us have used it translating English sentences into Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, etc. So this is also the translation feature which is being provided by Google Translate API or Cloud Translate API. While this works okay with general purpose text, some applications require a little more attention. Google lets you provide a set of keywords to tune the algorithm. This is helpful for text related to scientific domains such as electrical engineering. Hangout Chat API. Google has a bumpy start into social networking. The Hangout chat service seems to be the most valuable IP Google has salvaged from its defunct social play Google Plus and seems quite likely to become its next big thing, especially as it can be extended to contain customer service bots. Take a look at the Hangout Chats API. The bot behaves just like the IRC servers of your. It hangs around waiting for a user to invoke it by mentioning its name. The moment this happens, your code receives a callback with the incoming information and a bit of metadata about the user. This data can then be used for a variety of ways. A good example was SRC or SR Cadet bot, which used to hang out in the channel on Freenode and provided ways to interact with the information found in SVN. In all, Google currently offers more than 2 dozens of API which can be found on the Google's code site. Much like the Facebook platform for the APIs offered from widely used startups like Flickr and Twitter, Google's APIs provide developers with an in to millions of potential users through Google's vast reach. In turn, creating applications that are both useful and provide smooth integration with an existing Google service is an effective way to spread your product through technology instead of relying solely advertising or viral marketing. At the same time as Google continues to add new APIs and expand on existing ones, the company further expands its reach as the developer community builds new products tailored to Google products and services. Thank you.